Hiya guys, welcome to my Compound Life. I'm your host Jonathan. This is a channel where we build assets, we build great habits to manage all of our assets, and of course we build freedom that should really be financial freedom, time freedom, so that you, me, and anyone else can slightly retire earlier, have plenty of time that allow us to do anything we want. And for me, for now, for my case, I'm working on my passion project, which is YouTube. Simply want to spread more words out there about my compound life, where everyone can start consider about stacking assets, right? And of course, this specific video, I'm in my driving scenario, so very likely it will be about Bitcoin. I hope you like it. So before we move on, please remember to hit the like, hit subscribe. Let me know who you are if you're my new subscriber. I think I'm currently on 115, 116. Will be good to know that if you're new subscribers. Let me know who you are and where you guys actually come from, and whether you're here for my Bitcoin video or for my overall investment video or my YouTube journey type of video. Just let me know, guys. So today, very snowy in Birmingham. We covered in snow again in the West Midlands, so I have to drive very slowly, so bear with me as a lot of my attention might be paying on the road. Okay, very slow. Okay, so in today's video, I want to chat about Bitcoin because I think many of you guys, right, are scared of Bitcoin. And at the same time, there will always be a few that got introduced about Bitcoin over the holiday period. Maybe the OGs, the one that made some money. Well, I'm sure many of you made a lot of money, right? But very likely whomever made a lot of money probably wouldn't watch any Bitcoin video, because they'll be like, it doesn't matter, I don't need to keep up with the news, I'm fine with, with anything. So, you go first? You want to go first? No? Okay. So, many of you will also probably be considering and thinking about Bitcoin, right? And in today's video, I just got 3 things I want to talk about before you kind of move on with your stacking journey, right? So 3 things that I want to introduce to you, especially if you're newbies into Bitcoin, and these are very, very key things that you need to be mindful and you need to know about. Okay, number 1, when it comes to Bitcoin, you stack slowly, right? Not emotionally, right? So the best way to stack Bitcoin, I always communicate this in all of my video, right? So check them all out, is you DCA, your dollar cost average. In the UK, we call it pound cost average, right? But let's just call it DCA for now, otherwise I have to keep on repeating myself. So obviously the best way is to DCA, stack slowly. Of course, there will be windows, there will be rhythms that you want to stack harder, right? Or exit harder, right? So, and my another saying about Bitcoin is you stack slowly through DCA, you exit slowly too through DCA, right? That's very important, right? And more importantly, another thing to really call out will be, so we are still stacking slowly, not emotionally section. Okay, so another thing to call out will be, you always have a hodl bag. A hodl bag should be your bigger bag for Bitcoin that you hodl forever. You do not sell. Even if you sell a small section of it. But if you are only just started your journey, that you're dipping your toes into it, right? You might simply just have a hodl bag, right? Or a swing bag, right? So my kind of routine would be, I'll have a hodl bag, I have a swing bag. Swing bag is where I buy low, sell high, and then the hodl back I'll never touch on it. But certainly for my swing back, every now and then, once it gets to a certain size, I'll shift some of the coin into my hodl bag, right? We'll get into how to store your hodl bag in just a moment in my consideration number 2. Okay, so we are still in consideration number 1. Stack slowly, right? Not emotionally, because I know by the time when you start to, invest into Bitcoin, very likely you're gonna go onto X, you're gonna go onto the news, right? And very likely you're gonna go on to YouTube, right? And great that you stumble upon my video, because what I'm trying to tell you is not hype, right? I'm not trying to hype out Bitcoin. I'll give you a realistic point of view of how things are going, how sentiments are shifting, right? And that will influence how we might want to stack harder for our hodl bag, or start to consider about exiting for our swing back, right? So this is why you need to pick your influencers very correctly, right? Because you don't want to pick an influencer for Bitcoin and crypto that's always bullish about everything, and that's not giving yourself a true overview of the reality of what's going on. Okay, and of course, many of you, maybe I'm just thinking out loud, because in my channel there are a lot more matured investors, I do think, in their 40s, in their 50s. Many of you probably still rely on traditional news, like the TV news, the media, to make decision, right? And these are news that I somehow felt that's lagging behind, right? Like the CNBC news, the Yahoo news about finance, etc., right? So to me, I kind of felt these are news that either they lag behind, or they have certain kind of priority, right? So many times I think the news, they'll just hype out the the worst bit of Bitcoin situation to try and scare you out, right? So be mindful of that. If you kind of hodl Bitcoin for with longer conviction, this is where you need to be very, show some of that conviction, right? And essentially that means not get FOMO in, or not get panic and try to panic sell. Okay, so bear that in mind. So control a little bit of your emotions, and that's a lot that you can do so through kind of like practice. The longer that you're holding Bitcoin, a few more cycles that you actually gotten through, you actually be so good at it, and eventually you turn into I can't say a diamond hand. I'm not really a diamond hand yet. I'm just more of a wooden hand, that I just keep on holding my Bitcoin for a longer period of time, as opposed to panic selling, right? And the second thing that I need all of you to consider, which I also made a video yesterday to inform you guys, to make you guys aware the situation with hardware wallet. It isn't that technology that can be compromised. I can't say easily compromised, because hardware wallet or cold wallet are actually the best wallet out there to help you to secure your wealth, your Bitcoin, through offline ledger, right? So secure your Bitcoin early is the next thing I want to talk about. If you haven't watched one of my video from yesterday about ledger, where there has been some data breach, and it's not the hardware issue, but it's just scammers can potentially get access to your name, phone number, email address, the type of ledger device that you've bought, and then they can impersonate and try to scam you, right? So this specific consideration that I'm talking about is you need to secure your Bitcoin early, and essentially that means if you are buying through exchange for your Bitcoin, whenever it gets to a certain amount, consider about moving your Bitcoin from the exchange to a hardware wallet, to a cold wallet. So there's a difference between hardware wallet, which is a cold wallet, versus a hot wallet, right? So a hardware wallet, it's kind of like a ledger device that you buy, and then essentially you are storing the private key onto the ledger device itself. And every time when you're about to make a transaction from one wallet address to another wallet address, you need to sign that transaction through a ledger device, right? So without that ledger device to approve the transaction, you cannot make that transfer, right? So it's very, very secure. But of course, you know, if it's a data breach, potentially someone could try to scam you. And the usual scam that I'm seeing, that I'm hearing, will be someone pretending to be from the ledger company to ask you to send over to them your seed phrases, right? So you never ever send over your seed phrases, better in mind. So why am I talking about securing your Bitcoin early and send it through a hardware wallet? Is essentially you don't want to store your Bitcoin on a lot of the exchanges, or you don't want to store them onto a cold wallet, right? A cold wallet would be your MetaMask wallet, the wallet that you're holding on your mobile phone, like, you know, Trust Wallet, Jupiter Wallet, etc., right? You don't want to store it in the cold wallet because they sometimes get hacked. They could be, the wallet can easily be compromised. Someone could put a Trojan horse onto your mobile phone, onto your mobile devices or your PC, that they can easily, you know, try to steal your wallet key phrases, right? So secure your Bitcoin wallet, and this will prevent a lot of hack, and essentially you wouldn't lose your wealth that quickly. Another thing, the third thing that I want to highlight will be think when you get into Bitcoin investing, you need to think for the longer term, right? It's think about investing at least for one cycle, right? One cycle will be approximately four years. I mean, for this cycle, we can potentially be extended onto the 5 years. You never know, right? But just call it 4 to 5 years, right? For any of the investments that you pull together, right? Even for my ETF, I've invested for many, many long years now. Essentially, ETF, I'm kind of seeing 50, 60, 70% increase in my portfolio over maybe 5 or 6 years. So Bitcoin, it's such an incredible asset, a beast of an asset, the alpha of all asset class out there. However, it's not money making anymore that you can get 1000x overnight, right? So bear in mind, if you are into Bitcoin, don't let the social media hype it out to let you know. I don't think social media will hype Bitcoin up anymore because essentially everyone knows that the CAGR, right, in the future will still be very, very good. However, it wouldn't be, you know, thousands of X in a matter of a year's time, right? So when you're into Bitcoin, you just need to think of it as years, right? As opposed to short-term price action, right? So this is why every time when I receive a dip, it doesn't really scares me out anymore. I was lucky enough that I invested in stocks and shares, equity much earlier too, and volatility in equities sometimes can be frightening. But anything compared to Bitcoin, you'll be like, wow, Bitcoin, it's highly volatile. But volatility, I think it's a lot to do with the leverage, because in Bitcoin, the leverage can go up to 50x, 100x in certain of the exchanges. So that's why whenever the liquidation event that occurs, there'll be a lot of traders that get forced liquidated out. So bear that in mind. Do not get into leverage trading when you're into Bitcoin, but just think of it as an investor's perspective. You invest into Bitcoin for years, and for you to see any good return, right, just hold it for at least 4 years, 4 to 5 years, at least one cycle, and then you'll be so confident at it that you want to put in more. Okay, trust me, I've been there. This is my third cycle. I've just didn't do quite well in my first cycle, but I kind of understand the rhythm, understand the path to Bitcoin, that I started to do well in my second cycle and accumulated a lot more. Because in the first cycle I did some Bitcoin and then I bought a lot of shit coins, crypto. I don't want you guys to make that mistake anymore. Yeah, so yeah, I think these are the 3 things that I want to talk about. You stack slowly, not emotionally, right? So DCA, make sure you stack out a good hodl bag, and then maybe on the sideline you can start to build a swing bag and decide to buy low, sell high, so that you can keep up with my compound life lifestyle, that you can retire earlier slightly with your Bitcoin. Of course, the second thing is secure your Bitcoin early. So I'm not saying that every $10 that you buy from the exchange and then immediately you kind of shift over that to a hardware wallet, right? Maybe what you might want to do is every quarter, right? If your buy is massive in big volumes, maybe every month, end of months, that after your last recent end of month purchase, you start to move that into a hardware wallet. Remember that, hardware wallet and not a cold wallet. Okay, so remember that. And throughout this investment journey, 3 things. This will be an investment asset for years, right? So if you are into meme coin trading for a short period of time, this video is not for you, right? If you have the expectation that you want to cash out within 2 weeks or a month, this is not a video for you, right? So this will be a video if you're already exposed to ETF, right? And you know that you want to build wealth over a longer period of time. However, ETF might not give you that CAGR like Bitcoin. So that's why I don't really put more into ETF anymore. Like my S&P 500, in the UK we call them, the ticker symbol is VUSA. So I don't really put into my ETF anymore, but certainly whenever the dividends, etc., rather than me taking out the cash, I just add back into VUSA. But I'm more into compounding Bitcoin now because it's a faster growing horse, guys. So this is why you guys need to be on it. So think of it for years. The most you need is one cycle, then you can see the return. And of course, not get too tied up with the price action. We're at around 90,000 or 89, 90, 91,000. Of course, we dropped tremendously. I think it's been a drop of about less than 30%, right? From the recent all-time high of 126,000. So it's volatile, but it still returns good CAGRs. Okay, so bear that in mind. So that's it I want to talk about now. I'll see you in the next video. Please remember to hit the like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.